Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a while because I was putting together a little video of Legacy for you all. If you didn't see that, just check out this channel. It'll be there. It was the last thing I put up. And you'll get about 20-minute look at that game, and it's pretty rough so far, but it does give the basic sense of what we're going for. Now, as for Match of the Win, Morris is being broken out of prison by the other Teutons. Now, I believe I mentioned before that Morius was named after my World of Warcraft character, and actually, almost all of the Teuton characters are, just have names derived from Warcraft, or at least our experiences of Warcraft. Tyrande was somebody I knew, who I did a few, quests with and stuff. And Shadehorn was my college roommate, made a Minotaur, and came up with that name for him. And I don't know, a lot of our friends at the time in college thought it was kind of a lame name, but it's also kind of likable too. I don't know. So I borrowed it. And I can tell you about the others as they emerge, but for now it's just going to be these four. So, easy money. So you can figure out where this is going anyway. Everything's about to converge on Kovak's party, which is in this big-ass mansion. Can you imagine seeing a house that looked like this? I didn't until I went to Los Angeles. Saw a few houses that were just, insane. But usually in Connecticut, I mean, there's mansions in Connecticut, but they're not, gigantic. Jeez. Yeah, Saad's overrating his people skills here. I mean, it's not like he's the most pleasant person either most of the time. So, most of the characters that we've met so far are here at the party, since just about the entire thing takes place in Port Ariana up to this point. So here's Saad and Violet again. Just shows that they're friends despite their arguing before. And Emma sort of disappears from the story for a while. I just kind of have this flimsy thing, oh yeah, she left town. But I don't know. I guess I just wanted to develop Saad and Auburn, and it was be kind of weird if she was at the party while all this was going on. But yeah, like I said before, I was never most of the time I wasn't really sure what to do with her, other than just having her as some early help develop Saad early on, which some might say isn't the most progressive use of character. The whole idea of women are only there to develop male characters. You hear that every so often. I like to think I avoid that most of the time, but in Emma's case, I don't know. But it's also, I have a hard time kind of letting characters go. I tend to just sort of keep them around even when they're not really doing anything. And that's definitely what happened with Emma. Oh, Capital. I like that. I can't remember what that's from. It's from something. There's a few good NPCs here. I first stand here against the wall. It makes me cool. Pretty sure that's a Calvin Hobbes gag. Just sitting here looking badass in my armor, gonna score big time. These knights think they're such hot shit. And Saad and Barry. This is very much a comic book thing, I think. In a sense that, one of the good guy's friends is pissed off at his alter ego. And, and of course Saad, has to think about it oh, he's mad at me, but Barry doesn't think he's mad at him. I don't know, it just reminds me of a lot of situations that Spider-Man used to get into, where, people would be inadvertently hurt by something that happened with Spider-Man, or something that happened while Spider-Man was fighting a villain or whatever. and they'd be sort of venting about Spider-Man 2, Peter Parker, and of course, he can't really like pipe up and be like, "Hey, take it easy. I did the best I could." Obviously, so it's you just kind of have to sit there and take it. It's very superhero-ish. Now, in terms of which superheroes, I think it's probably mostly Spider-Man that influences. Just because that's the one that I've read the most growing up and still do occasionally. Although I don't know, these days Marvel Comics just exist to sell the movies, not much else. Okay, I should stop talking about that though. This is an important little bit. So this is Saad and Kovak's first meeting. And it's interesting because Saad starts out cordial, but like he just can't fucking keep it up. Like he's so, he's trying to find out some information and doing it in a sort of, friendly way. But little by little, this edge starts to creep in. Kovak's being really vague, and that pisses Saad off. So he just, where is it? I think you're afraid to tell me, or anyone else for that matter. And the whole fucking audience playing this game is just like shaking their heads right now. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Saad was supposed to be the one who was like the smooth talker, because Stoic couldn't do it. Honestly, Stoic might have done a better job here. Here we go. Our store is committed to protecting positive values. He's like basically shits that line out. He just doesn't even believe it for a second, but it's just the hands boilerplate, and he's got to stick to it. Trust me, kid, I know. Just leaves. He's had enough of that. Because the thing is, Kovak may be in league with the hand, but he's not really a bigoted man. He's not really, like, he's just the classic kind of like right-wing businessman in the sense that, like, profit is everything. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe I know that's probably that's more of an American thing, I guess, for you Europeans watching this, or people from other parts of the world. But fucking profit is everything, man. It's scary. Like the amount of what do you call it? The amount of just pain and suffering that people will tolerate if it's making somebody money. Ugh. That's, well, I won't get into healthcare thing again. I talked about that before. But that's a good example. Alright, so now we're going to meet the music crystals. Sort of odd piece of technology in this quasi-medieval world that the game takes place in. But basically, this whole thing exists because I wanted an excuse to have Saad and Auburn dance to live music. And we don't have orchestra sprites. So, you got to come up with something. This is what RPG Maker forces you to do a lot of the time. Like, unless you're like a great artist who can make all all the sprites and stuff you'll ever need, and a few of those people exist, and boy, I envy them. But if you're not that, you got to come up with shit like this. You take something you already have, a little crystal graphic, and you just decide it's going to play music because you need music for the scene. So there you go. It's almost like directing a low-budget movie. Except in my case, I have like no fucking budget, at least not for this game. And this is the first major, I don't know what you'd call it, like self-directed scene, maybe? You know what I'm talking about? Basically, everything goes on its own. It's a total uninteractive moment for the player where you just watch the cutscenes. And when you do this, I don't do it as much anymore. For a couple of reasons. It's super time-consuming and really tends to get a mixed reaction from people who'd rather play. Although this cutscene is, I never really heard anybody complain about this one. This cutscene is pretty well received because Finley's, getting down so hard. But you do this when you want a scene to conform exactly to a song, right? Like, because you don't know how fast a player's gonna go through dialogue on their own. So if you want to have, like, for example here, if I want to have Stoic, eavesdropping on the attendant and Vec during a, having during conversation. If I want that to happen during like a sort of part of the song that's a little more chill than the rest, then you have to sort of arrange that. And also, this song just doesn't loop well. You know what I mean? You can't, it just wouldn't work. And so what you have to do is you got to put in all this text. You got to have it close on its own, and then you got to play it over and over and over until you know that like it's working for the music. And you still can't be sure it's going to work for everybody, because shit like lag can screw it up. So you always got to give yourself a few seconds of leeway at least for some of this. If you make it too close, like if I want to have them move a different tile like at every drum hit or something, that'd be pretty fucking hard to guarantee it was going to work for every player. So you gotta make it a little loose. Then you have something like this where as the song dies down, they break in and the song kind of like calms down too. And it's fun to make. It is. I mean, it takes a long time, and there are scenes coming up in this game that are way more intense than this. But not everybody likes it, though. I mean, because, at this point, you're sitting there for 4 minutes, and you don't have to do anything. So you got to make sure that you use it for, like, highly significant, entertaining scenes. So then that's, in this case, this is a big dance party, so it's fun. Although now it's over. Now the players advancing the dialogue on their own. And Morius picks the wrong guy to try and rob. Now this is actually the first sighting of Finley's guns. And he just busts them out. And that song starts perfectly. Just a good combo. And it's actually the first indication that guns are even in this game. So it can be kind of a shock. But not if you play Clean Slate, because there was a scientist that you met towards the end of that game who kind of gave you a prototype to mess around with. And this is interesting because it's another scene that depends a lot on movement and animations and stuff, but I don't need... It's not as set to the music, right? It can go along at the player's pace and still be satisfying. So that's interesting to think about, just the differences. And Vex is an Earth Mage, showing off those Earth Mage skills. Meanwhile, Douglas is stealthily creeping towards Finley, but Auburn, who I guess has been trained to spot hidden, creatures, is able to catch him. And, it's funny because, like, you could say that Finley and his guns are just anachronistic, and not just the fact that he has guns, but his whole way of speaking. It's very, like, just, he's kind of like a bro. I mean, he's a little more innocent than your typical bro, but he's got some of those tendencies. But I don't know. I mean, it seems to work for people because he's like everybody's favorite character. So we're doing something right. And now we have our heroes making an entrance. And this is, I think, a fun moment for people. Oh yeah, the Stoa cuts the arrow. Watch this shit. That's so badass. And I didn't even, you don't even see the sprite move. He just cuts it. It would have been pretty sweet to have an animation of him cutting it, but, like I said, no budget. But I think this is fun, to have from the player's point of view, because you're getting two new characters at once that you've never had in combat before, and you've got a team of 4 enemies. So it's a true battle royale. Oh man, look at those battlers. Those are fucking awesome. I think for a while none of these were original. Until Enko went back and redid a lot of the old ones just to try and catch up. And this is fucking awesome. Look at the Shadehorn and that axe. I mean, not axe, hammer. And you can see he's got like the Teuton symbol branded on his shoulder there. And a lot of them wear the symbol if you can find it. It can be hard with the low resolution battlers. Although I think Tyranda's leg slit is a little much, but you know, what can I say? Enker likes the female form. Can't blame him for that. I'm a fan myself. And also you got Finley and Auburn's battlers, which are pretty classic. Although friggin' Auburn goes through a bunch of battlers in this game. I guess I won't explain why, but she does. A lot of outfits in general, come to think of it. She's got that dress she wears, and she's got, you know, the outfit for the band thing later. And that's not a spoiler, by the way. That'll be happening for too long. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I think it's because people just made a lot of sprites. Like, you know, artists out there in the community just made a lot of sprites with that redheaded character that I'm using for Auburn. At least with her head. And we were just like, well, we just went with it. We're like, okay. Got another costume available for Auburn. Let's use it. Like I said, man, it's that low budget thinking. I'm telling you. Even like, I don't know, even in Labyrinth of Dreams where we had a budget, I was still thinking like we had no money. But, you know, that's different. And it wasn't a lot of money, that's for sure. Didn't take much to go through it. Okay, we're getting pounded a little bit here. Let's catch our breath. Tyranda's down. And this is a battle where you really want to take advantage of the status effects. Like, as you can see, I mostly kept Shadehorn out of the fight by hitting him with paralysis from Auburn's crowd control move. And if you can get the Dust Devil off, if it works, didn't really work that time, but if it works, it could save you a few hits. So, yeah, so this'll, if I can go on for a little longer, I gotta come up with more shit to say. So this scene, it's part of I guess a storytelling formula that I like to use, where like you have a lot of build-up, I guess, story-wise, where like different things are converging. You know, like the Teutons, you know, broke Morius out, the party was starting. You know, Finley and Auburn were there, and then you just sort of bring everything together for a big blowout. And I think people like that. I think that's a pretty satisfying story device. There's a similar moment in Clean Slate where you go to Boreal and you meet Dasani and all that. But meanwhile, Lysander and Ariel are sneaking around in the woods, and Seth and his group are around. And eventually everybody converges on Boreal, and you have kind of a 4-on-4 fight, a lot like this, actually. We have Arius and his 3 allies against Seth and Seth's 3 allies. And then meanwhile, Ariel and Dasani are fighting. So that was a big deal too. But it's the same idea of the Battle Royale, you know, like, because when you start introducing more characters, people really want something like that. So, you know, that rule of showbiz, you got to give the people what they want most of the time. It's also fun to go against what they want sometimes. Just ask Game of Thrones, they'll tell you. Though they seem to be getting away from that with the new season. But I won't spoil, don't worry, if you haven't seen it yet. Alright, so we're down to 2. I usually take out Tyrande first because she heals. And then Morius, because he's just kind of a pain with his status effects and such. Now, you could, in theory, you might want to take out Shadehorn last because he's the biggest and toughest, but Shadehorn has a final move that's like an instant KO attack. So if you take him out last, then you risk having one of your characters miss out on the experience, because you get the experience right at the end of the fight. So usually I take out Shadehorn. Here we go. Oh, you missed. Oh, Auburn made him eat it. So yeah, you take out Shadehorn, then you just, you know, you got Douglas left, and by himself, Douglas is not very tough. I mean, as far as tigers go. Oh, but he's cloaked, so he missed a lot of the attacks. Yeah, look at the detail on that fucking tiger with the stripes. Man. Can you tell I miss Enker making battlers? And there's a bunch they never got to, also. I just would love to see him. There's some sketches somewhere that you guys never saw for stuff that he was working on. That looked pretty cool. Oh, Douglas making everybody bleed. Finley's gun attack there, I think it's called a charge shot. It used to be called Bust a Cap. And I wonder if it'll get that name later, because sometimes the skills upgrade in this version. Probably not. We probably thought that was a little too, out there. And maybe it's like cultural appropriation. Lol. Sorry. I don't know. I'm very progressive, but some of that shit, like, where do you draw a line with that? If I eat Chinese food, is that cultural appropriation? I don't know, man. Just don't wear blackface. There you go. Anyway, so now we have Finley's very questionable retelling of the events that you've just witnessed. And, Shroud and Stoic have to keep from beating the crap out of him. I think Sot's more amused by it. But Bones is sitting there like, God, this guy's a fucking idiot. A very brief lesson about the history of guns, since now they're a thing. And, so gun control in Solesta is non-existent, since it's just, it's a brand new technology, so very much like modern America in that way. Let's see. We get some new stuff. We got a few new things from the fight. Where is it? Yeah, there we go. Tyranna's marker. Oh, no, it's Douglas's Fang. That's what I want. Anything that increases Sod's evasion, I like to put on him. Like, I've had some games of this where I have his evasion up to like 70 or something crazy. Shader and Calibi. Yep, it's a big pile of shit you can throw at enemies. I usually use it at the next big boss fight. What was I going to say? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the evasion. Sorry, I'm ditzy today. But with the evasion, because eventually Shroud learns the counterattack move, which which will work even if somebody misses you. So you just have all these things where people are missing Sod, and he hits them back anyway, which is awesome. And I think in some versions of the game, you can get the evasion so high that the blink status, which is what Douglas casts on himself, and is actually a skill in Legacy, where you basically just like become very hard to hit. It gets applied automatically, so that's kind of cool. I can't. Oh, but you will. Okay, how are we doing on time here? Let's squeeze, I think, one or two more cutscenes in before we bring this in for a landing. And then they're going to go to the docks to investigate the clamor. We have a fun little arc here. Daydream. The band. Which is kind of a very modern, power metal-like group. Which totally would not exist in this game. There's a lot of screwing around with the setting in these sequences, but people like it, actually. I have bass guitar. You see, they shouldn't even have like electric guitars. I don't know, I just like to, make excuses, just be like, yeah, well, lightning magic. There you go. They can use that as a substitute for electricity or something. And but you don't see this kind of shit in medieval RPGs that often. I think that's why people like it. And so yeah, this it's basically the second half of Arc 2 that's kicking off here. Just investigating like what Kovak's up to, bringing these guys to town. And of course, as soon as they hear that, they immediately distrust the band. Oh, here's some funny Finley stuff. This Finley is a major fan. And he starts to just insist. You may have time to kneel at the feet of these minstrels, but some of us have other things to attend to. That's a good line. Stoic's old-timey dialogue is just fun to write. Basically, Finley is just like determined that they see the band and share his appreciation. That's a true fanboy trait. I see, he won't let up. Trying to come up with excuses. Finley just will not have it. You are seeing Daydream, and that's the end of it. Alright, so Bones is up early. Let's find out what he's up to next time. Alright, take it easy, everyone. Peace.